Yeah.
Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting for Monday, September 11th, 2023. I'd like to start off with just a short moment of silence in honor of this date, 22 years ago. Thank you. So, Jim, is he?
He's coming.
He's coming? Perfect. Here's the timing. Wow, the grand entrance. Is Jim coming? Right through the door. Jim, we're going to start into capital budgets. Is there anything else that we need to go over?
Oh, they did some great work the last few weeks, so hand it off to Ed.
Excellent. You want to start
Good evening.
with
My
Article
name's Ed
6?
Forsberg, Chairperson of the Capital Budget Committee, and we have a report on the 2023 Annual Town Meeting capital requests. And I guess we're just going to go through each article, and I'll tell you the vote and the funding, and then if there's any questions, we'll answer them. So Article 6, this will be for the total amount of $2,171,762, and the funding is, free cash would be $1,896,700, $1,896,762. Water returned earnings of $261,000, and the capital, and the cable fund of $14,000. Capital budget voted in favor of this article 700.
Perfect.
Can I just ask a question?
No, I was going to say, so why don't,
Wait,
rather than go through each
second.
line item, we're just
Go
going
through
to,
the whole thing? Okay.
we're going to just, as we hit Article 6, and then just open it up to the board members to ask questions. So we're going to start right with you, Chief.
So through you, Ed, is that, the cable fund, is that Walpole Media Corporation?
Yes.
Funding?
Yes.
Okay.
So, it's the funding, not the funding that we contribute to Walpole Media Corp. It's actually part of that, both contracts were just up, we negotiated both of them with just about the same terms. And that's part of the portion that comes directly to the town. So we're limited as to what we can use it on. Basically, we can only use it on IT infrastructure and cable improvements. The last year, we made some, we put security cameras down at Jarvis that you guys were a part of and at the fields. So this one's just running through town meeting, but
So is this part, you know how each contractor, Comcast and Verizon, authorized a certain amount of money for capital improvements?
yes.
Is that what this
It's a
is?
small amount. It's not part of the million. I think the balance in that account is usually around $1 million or so. It's not part of that
Right,
account.
okay, thanks, just asking.
Gisette?
A little offside here, but on the building maintenance and such, I was curious that at the schools last week, we know how hot it was in our homes. What was the temperature within the school system
I
last
thought
week?
someone would ask that. Not to cut you off.
There's several
But
of
I
us here.
actually went up there on the hottest day of the school year, and because I had, my daughter was in
Yes.
11th grade up there. She said the history wing was, 104 degrees, Dad, that's what the kids were saying. It wasn't quite 104 degrees, but quite honestly, when I walked through there around 12:30-ish, it was about, the hottest I found in that history wing was about 90 degrees. Consistently, that part of the building was about 82, 84 degrees. So it's hot, and it was stuffy. So I'm sorry, I might have cut you off, Bridget, but I wanted to brag about going. I went in there with a heat gun, and I told Bridget I was going in there, and I tested all the different areas with Donnie, so.
So is part of this to address any air conditioning issues, or that's a big gulp, we don't talk about it?
So-
I'm curious.
Do you mind if I mean, we had a big meeting today with our Green Communities Coordinator, Mike. I think this price was for $4 million. I actually thought it was gonna be about $6 million, and the price tag along with the HVAC at the high school is about $9.8 million. It's a big chunk of change. We were eligible, this will come up during the funding of the high school project next, about a year from now, but we're eligible right now for about $3.3 million in incentives. So that could take the price tag down to about 6 and change. So today I started, we gotta figure out a way to fund this as part of the high school project. All in, I'm at about $37 million with the high school. This is all fresh in my mind because I worked the numbers today. I've cleaned out, just looking at capital accounts and could we possibly do a bands to cover some of these incentives money? Because you have to front the money to get it back a year or two later in incentives. And that's how long it took us with the streetlights around town. We did that about 2 years ago. So we're gonna have to figure a way, and Jody and I briefly talked about it today. It's possible. So my game plan, and I don't even think the school committee knows this, but after talking to Mike and Bridget briefly about it today, we gotta do it all in one, so one way or another. So it's gonna lift the price tag up to about 37 or so million. But I figured out a game plan today on it. So that'll come forward as part of it. I just gotta get the OPM and the architect on board because I'm sure that the architects already designed some of that $9.8 million, but I just don't know how much of that. We're having a meeting next week to figure it all out, so it's gonna be on there.
Hypothetically, would it be better to do it in stages or to do it all at once?
We talked about, there's a way to break it down into phases. The biggest catch is gonna be, we're gonna need the same contract. I think she broke it up into what, 3 or 4 phases? 4 phases. We need the same contractor and same, like, instead of, there's 2 different kinds of controls in the police station. One's Train and one's Johnson. We need that, Donnie likes Johnson controls, and he said, I'd like to have the same control system throughout the building. So, yeah, there's a way to phase it, but it'd be a whole lot easier and probably less expensive if we did it all at once. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I got a plan, and I just figuring out how to explain that plan, but it just came up today.
Thank you.
So a little follow-up to that is, we voted favorable action for the $600,000 out of free cash, but the schools were also awarded a $400,000 grant for this, towards this project. So that gives them a start of $1 million to get going, and like we said, it's gonna be phased, so this will at least get it going and repair any of the parts that are really in need, so.
In this money now, will that sit until,
I think we'll bundle it all.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Through you, two questions. On the high school, is it currently multiple systems, or is it one system that's just out of date and in drastic need of repair?
Multiple units, I know that, because when I was walking through there on that hot day, Donnie pointed out to me, and Mike, you might be, on top of the cafeteria, we just recently did some work over there that IBS did. So it's multiple units, and I think they're all part of the same system, but do you know?
So, yeah, I mean, the spaces within the high school have air conditioning now, the auditorium, we all know, the cafeteria we just added to, and those are larger spaces, but the remainder of the building only has heat at this point and very antiquated.
And my second question is, how did the elementary schools do with the heat? I know we have some that are relatively renovated, and others that have probably been sitting there forever, in need of work.
So we've considered that was part of our proposals, lower on the priority list, but it is on our priority list because we can only take on obviously so much. But we Jim recommended funding a study of the elementaries, the 3 elementaries. Elm Street already has central air, to look at the conditions, look at weatherization and what we can do in the meantime, and then costing out what it would take to put air conditioning in the building.
The way we looked at it, Mark, was similar to what we've done with the fields and with Jarvis Farm, with rec department. We really don't know what's there. Mike, said $1 million a school. I think he was thinking along those lines. But if we get this study completed, and we've already found a firm to work with, they can come in and say, okay, OPR is probably your worst school. You got to put that at the top priority. We really just don't know what that priority is, and that's going to go towards helping that.
Mark?
Just curious, is there data that compares like what, how hot it is now, how many days it is, how much higher it is versus years past? I mean, I'm just wondering, is anyone gonna be, look, I toughed this out when I went to school. Like, of course, when I went to school, it snowed in October through May kind of thing,
You had
But
to
I'm just
walk uphill
wondering,
both ways.
but is there like a data set that says it's X number of days over 80, over 90 per year than what it was in the past?
I mean, we haven't looked at the data. Right now, we're focusing on the equipment more, knowing, I think there's a general acceptance that the heat has been pretty tough this year in particular, and obviously past years. So we're looking more at the equipment, what the costs are, and those types of things. That's our priority at this point.
We're trying to avoid heat days, like snow days, and then it's just, it'll just never happen, because, you know, the longer you stay in school, the hotter, I guess, so.
Right, no, I'm just anticipating town meeting, someone getting up saying, you know, I went to school. Okay, thank you.
We have other questions on Article 6?
Yes. Could you, I missed the meeting where you guys discussed the stormwater basin, the bridge crossing, for $10,000. Could you?
The stormwater infiltration basin at the DPW yard on Washington
The
Street.
Trails Committee?
Is that the first one on the list on the top?
No, it's right above the school department.
Under the trails.
Trails, bridge for crossing the stormwater basin, 10,000.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's up at the New LaRusso Fields. There's some hiking trails up there, and there's, the overflow area is all riprap, and you can't cross it, you can't walk over it. So I think we had a picture of the bridge, but it's a pre-made bridge that would just go over it, so you wouldn't have to go around it. It would just loop the trail, connect the trail together.
I actually made that bridge.
You made it?
Yeah.
Part of Gary's group.
No, it was done before.
Oh, okay.
And so it
It's
is,
in my neighborhood.
it's
Okay.
something that's,
Yeah, actually, and we didn't make it quite wide enough when we get heavy rain, so I got to hop. So a new bridge would be helpful. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
We had Gary, was it Gary?
Yeah, Gary.
Gary from the Trails Committee come in and kind of show us the whole concept. And I think we even talked to him about maybe, instead of composite steps, maybe doing some
Right.
other material that'd be less slippery, especially like ice, cold, whatever, winter.
Right, so
So they were still gonna, he thought the 10 grand was enough to make it all work. Or whatever.
actually, he thought the pressure treated with the sand paint on it would be less expensive than composite decking. I know, I have composite decking on my deck, and when the rain gets in there, it freezes. It's like a skating rink, and where that has a slope, I'll get a picture out of here, I can show you, but, you know, the ends are gonna be sloped and come up, and it'd be pretty dangerous to walk on in the colder weather. So he's gonna look into that, and then to also make sure that, we're pretty sure that it has to be handicap compliant, so the slopes would conform to that.
I struggle with the want versus the need, and I'm not sure where this kind of falls. You know, I see a lot of needs coming up for the town with the HVAC, with the middle school, with the high school, with the pools, and this along with the downtown recreation activities just kind of don't fit within my definition of what a need is. This is more of a want. And so, in my opinion, Denny has a different one. But that's why I'm asking, because I struggle with this one as well as with the 10 grand for the downtown recreation. And can I just start on that one?
Go for it.
'Cause, I'm on the rec department, the rec committee, and I know we did a similar amount for concrete games last year, and the concrete games haven't been implemented. We don't know how they're going to work. So for me, putting this $10,000 before we know how these concrete games are going to work is just kind of, I don't think the timing is right for the second phase before the first one has even been implemented. So I will make a motion to remove the $10,000 from the downtown recreation activities elements when this discussion is over, to take that out and put that money into capital stabilization, because I think if I'm, as a rec committee member, I'd rather see that 10 grand go to a pool or to a school than to whatever it is, cornhole. I just don't see that as a top priority in my mind, so that's more of a comment than a question.
Any other questions on 6?
Through you, jumping back up onto parks, bird backstop design and replacement, are the existing ones a hazard, or because of the middle school construction, we have to totally tear them down and relocate and build new?
The existing one's in disrepair, and many balls are getting through and causing issues, so it needs to be replaced. It really has nothing to do with the construction.
Okay, so it's a safety issue at this point. Okay, and the other is shade structure for the Woodward Playground.
Right.
What are we looking at as a shade structure?
Something that, like was over there now, when they expanded and did the remodel of the existing playground, they had to take down a couple of trees, and one of the big trees was a shade tree. And one of the biggest complaints that they're receiving is when the parents and grandparents are going there, there's no shade for them to sit in while the kids are playing. So the shade structure that's there now works good, so we're looking to probably purchase 2 more of those.
Okay.
Question. The infield diamond renovations, what school are those for, the high school or middle?
Actually, it's all of the schools. I'll find the schools, but it's all of the diamonds that we have, like it would be stone, Old
Oh,
Post.
it's multiple.
Yeah, it's a different composite. I guess it's the same composite that they used at the new LaRusso fields. And it absorbs and drains the water much quicker, so it's not muddier, and it's more playable sooner after it rains. So, and it's worked. I mean, Rick can speak to that, but it seems like it would be a good option, so the fields are more playable.
$30,000 seemed like a lot of money for one.
No, it's, how many?
That's what I asked.
I think it's 4 or 5.
It's at least 5.
That's fine. It's combined, so that's fine.
Right.
Thank you.
Mark?
My question's on the design for the recreation pools. So I attended the selectmen's meeting. Has a concept been approved now, and now you're doing design, or is this money to still consider different alternatives?
I think it's still a work in progress, but I'd defer to Jim or Patrick on that.
Can't wait to design that. So you attended the meeting that night, they showed various concepts as part of the feasibility phase. We're gonna move into a schematic phase where those concepts will start to take a little bit more form.
Eventually, this will lead to us getting actual plans in hand to be ready to go out to bid ready and have bids in hand.
But it's still, the decision hasn't been made, 2 pools, 1 pool, and 1.
No, they haven't voted on it. To
Okay.
be honest with you, I get the sense that the board's leaning towards focusing on 1 pool, the center being the center pool, and patching what we can, getting as much life as we can out of the south pool, honestly. Because if we take on both of those projects, was it $7-9 million each? No, I don't think we're in a position to take on both.
Yeah, I couldn't help but help sitting in the audience, seeing the prices and thinking to myself, I wonder what it would cost just to dredge Memorial Pond again.
About $1 million.
The other so if they decided on, we're doing the center pool, is it gonna be the split pool that's 2 separate pools, or is it gonna be the wraparound pool?
They haven't
They haven't
decided
gotten that
on it,
close?
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on Article 6?
For you, was there any discussion around the shade structure of planting trees instead of building a structure? I feel like we recall the cost of trees was, when we approved that article last time, was far more economical and better for the environment. Talked about heat increasing.
Well, I think one of the issues was it's going to take a few years, quite a few years, for the tree to get big enough to mature and give enough shade. And they were looking to get shade, right away immediately. So, but it was discussed. We discussed it at the meeting a little bit about the shade trees, but it really wouldn't work right now.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Doug, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I don't really know how to do this, so I'll make a motion to remove the $10,000 from downtown recreation activities and put that towards capital stabilization. Is that the proper way to do it?
I think, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, you would make the motion would be for favorable action in the amount of
$2,161,000.
161, thank you. Yeah, and with,
And then we would visit
Yeah,
Article.
so $2,161,672, and that's the amount. minus the 10. I'll make sure in the motion it's clear, but your intent here is to delete that item which is funded through free cash.
And then when we have
If it,
the review, yeah, if it's approved, then we would,
Amend Article 4.
thank you.
Or actually,
So
Article
we have a
5.
motion?
Second.
We have a second. Sorry, I'm just gonna make that note. Number 6, Doug, Josette. And since no one's on Zoom, we can do this.
Raise your hands.
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
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 That's nice.
So I'll tell you what, just raise your hands up for the ayes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to abstain because I don't really have an opinion, so.
741.
7, 4, 1.
May I see the hands of who is,
No?
Knows?
knows?
Knows.
Scott, Larry,
Kathleen.
Kathleen, and Audrey.
Scott and Larry. Yep. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So we're good with Article 6? On to Article
Okay.
7.
Article 7, it was voted favorable action 700 in the amount of $1,588,000. Free cash is $1,473,000. Overlay is $30,000, and the ambulance fund is $85,000.
Questions on Article 7?
The town administrator didn't make a recommendation for it, but I'm curious about the module classrooms at Feeney and what exactly that's gonna do. My kids go to Elm, or I have one kid left, so I see a lot of activity there, and could you tell us a little bit about that? I know it's not.
The request was based on the growing enrollments at the Feeney Preschool, our special ed population, which that program is really meant for. Seems to be growing more than it has in the past, and there's only so much capacity within the Elm Street building and the Feeney Preschool. So as the numbers rise, we're getting concerned that at some point, because it's rolling enrollments, as the year goes along, kids come and join the program. Every year, it seems to be getting very close to that threshold. So it was lower on the priority list, but we wanted the committees to be aware that this is a concern that we have, and that may have to be addressed a few years down the road. Right now, we're holding tight, we're being creative about where we, house our classrooms, trying to be, use flexible spacing and that kind of thing. But we want to just, for it to be known that this is a challenge we're facing. So the town administrator not supporting it or funding it is not a surprise to us.
Thank you.
Just in general, I understand, my kids went there too, but I had asked Mike, I said, that program basically, I wouldn't call it self-sustaining, because you guys, I think, get state funds and you get fees from the residents who pay to have their kids go there. My thought on that is, could we set up some type of method where maybe the program's not completely covering it, but covering a portion of it? Okay, Mike thinks it could kick in about $300,000 over the next X amount of years. We plug that into the debt spreadsheet and figure out, can we make it work there? Because it is, I know it's modular classroom, but the modular classrooms at OPR have been there for 30-plus years, so it's a long-term infrastructure to definitely be borrowed for.
Thank you. Josette?
I just want to follow up
Go
on
ahead.
that one. Yeah, how many classrooms would that be for 800,000, and how many kids would fit in a classroom?
So it would be 2, it's an approximation, 18 to 20 maybe in each of those classrooms.
Okay.
All set, Scott? Yep. Josette, sorry.
Okay, on a hypothetical, because of the craziness we live in, communities around us are getting immigrants coming in. Foxborough, Plainville, Yarmouth, etc. I know you don't have a magic ball, but our numbers are close. How do you potentially try to absorb 50 or 100 more children coming in here within this coming year? In my opinion, it's a matter of time, the way things are going around us. And because of laws that were made 40-plus years ago, that it's a shelter in place, not exclusively, you know, one thing. So you have to, unless they change it, and don't hold your breath, every parent and child that comes in, the state is mandated to find shelter for them. And that influx is going to affect all of our schools, which is an understatement. And do we have a cushion, hypothetically, to absorb some of this? Or am I if I'm speaking out of turn, please tell me.
$1 million question. You know, unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know. You know, we can, I've talked a lot to the superintendent from Foxborough. I've talked to her quite a bit, just to see what they're doing and how they're managing. So that way we can get ahead of the game. Jim and I have talked, Mike and I have talked, just to start to think about, you know, like you said, you know, not the if, but the when.
Exactly.
And, you know, how we're able, because these families fall under, the children fall under McKinney-Vento, so that it's homeless. So we follow that process of enrolling them and how to go about enrolling them. It's hard to tell because you just don't know how many high school, how many middle school, how many.
Exactly.
So it's just looking at that in terms of our enrollment and how to disperse those children in the elementary schools. I think the high school and the middle school, there's one building, right? Or depending on where the hotels are, if they're on the Bird side. You know, you can already foresee that.
Exactly.
But the elementary is looking at, and working with Mike in terms of the transportation, of how to make sure that we can maybe distribute and then help get the children and the staff the resources for these individuals or these children that are coming in to be able to support them. Thankfully, and members of the Finance Committee, if you remember a couple years ago, supported an L director along with some of our English learner staff, which really helped us in order to support the students. We'll be utilizing those individuals as well. But, you know, hiring's tough around, you know. You can
Exactly,
see that we're
everybody's
short, you know,
looking.
Plainville is short even educational support professionals and getting them, but, you know, it's just working and networking with other towns that are in the midst of this in order to continue. But, you know, we'll work on it, we'll be ready.
And the mandates are unfunded, per usual. And McKinney-Vento, could you clarify that? Does that take kindergarten through high school or first grade through high school?
K through high school.
Okay.
And I believe the state is $104 per child, but that comes in quarterly in order to help get some of those resources. But again, it's, you know, working, the town and the school department and the Board of Health and the police and the fire working together, you know.
But you have no idea what's coming in with them. Our children have to be vaccinated, XYZ, and, you know, it's not these children's fault, but you have to deal with them, so.
And we just, unfortunately, we just don't have any, we don't know where these families are from, in order to, you know, prepare for it, but, you know, so we just kind of, we're
Put the
planning.
finger up and
We are,
see how it blows.
we're ready to-
Thank you.
we're ready.
I have a question also on the pools. Not the pools, it's the water. Irrigation pumps backflow. They requested 40,000 and the administration went to 25. Is
Sure, so some of that,
rationalization?
the 15 I didn't recommend, actually, Jim Thomas, who's the superintendent over there, was going towards the bird fields to to repair what was not damaged. We were if you drive by the bird site on the East Street side, you'll notice that there's stockpiles of dirt and gravel there. They were gonna have to store that off-site. That saved us $200,000 plus by allowing the JV field over there to be used during construction. Obviously, we had to cut some lines, and I think he said the pump's going over there, and after consulting with the project manager, they said that's certainly part of the project. So I said to Jim, let's cut that out, and when we bring those fields back online, we'll include that.
Other questions on Article 7?
I-
Oops, sorry. It's looking that way, went that way.
Sorry. Just a question about on the fire department. about the 1999 engine replacement, which was requested for $1,200,000. Is there a plan for future replacement?
So we just literally, about 2 weeks ago, received the two brand-new engines that we
Right.
bought about 2 years ago now. Well, we didn't buy it. We didn't actually physically give them a check until we received the engine. So those took 2 years to come in. When I first saw this, I went to Chief Barry and said, listen, this is more than double. This is about double what we paid for those. Each one was like $650, and because we were buying two, they gave us a discount off another one. But it was about $650 an engine. Figure that. Now it's $1.2 million, and I said to him, I know escalation, inflation, everything is going up, but maybe it's time to see if we can shop around a little bit and not just go with who we usually buy our engine from. Are there other alternatives out there? The answer is yes, but from talking to the vendor, they said they're called city trucks. You figure you gotta replace them every 3 to 5 years because they're constantly going. I don't know, so the reason I didn't recommend it is we just got those two new trucks.
Which
And there's a
we
lot more
approved. Right.
research that I wanted, because the price has gone up so much. Yeah.
I thought that was the reason, but I just wanted to have the public
Yeah.
have the explanation. Thank you.
Larry?
Did we, I think we paid one for cash and then we financed the other?
No, we paid cash for both of them, but when he was deputy, Paul Berry was able to get a grant for the 1985 fire engine. Part of the stipulation of that grant, even though it's a gorgeous-looking truck, you can't keep it as a vehicle. You could keep it parked as a parade vehicle. We're gonna auction it off and surplus
I
it.
thought we were financing, because I was part of that discussion. I remember that rates were low and we took advantage of the low rates. I'm just wondering,
There was one that we financed,
Right.
we borrowed for,
Well,
and
for
the other
the
one was
short
a
term.
grant.
we already borrowed? Did we borrow then or did we borrow now?
We bundled it.
Last year, maybe?
We bundled it.
it
Okay,
with
so I'm
the-
just thinking
Yeah.
rates were
Yeah.
at the time a little less than they are
Remember, it
today.
was such a deal.
Yes, it was.
I have one other item.
Yeah, go right ahead.
On the command car, I don't have issue with the command car except the funding source. We talked a little bit about this at capital budget, I guess. I would rather see the ambulance fund used, and my rationale is I think we have about 1.8, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim?
1.9.
1.9 in it, and we've already prepaid 2 ambulances?
We've appropriated the money. We don't, yes, for all intents.
So the
and
1.9 is net of those 2 ambulances of about 400 each or so?
purposes. Yeah, 450 actually.
Yeah, and so my thought, and we bring in about 1.3, 1.4 a year in that ambulance
Last
revenue?
year, we brought in 1,596,000.
I guess the question is it an ambulance fund to fund vehicles and maybe that fire truck down the road? Or operational? I just want clarity. I'd rather see the ambulance fund be used to fund the truck, that we're, if we're, the car, command car, if we're sitting on 1 point, whatever.
So initially, I had that funded through the fire, the ambulance fund. I decided after looking at the trends of the ambulance fund to take it out. I'm really concerned about, I know $1.9 million sounds like a lot of money, but when we're dealing with a budget of about 117, 119 million, it's just one piece of the pie. Last year, we took about $1,040,000 and put it in to help balance the budget. That included the 450 for the ambulance, in addition to the 450 for the ambulance in there. We're trending, I had projected us to be at about a 4% increase each year because the last couple of years, we were at 9.6. I did the 3, 5, and 10-year average. 9.6 for 3, 10.6 for 5, and 8.2 for 10. This year, we only grew that budget by 0.65%. I'm really, and the thing that hammered it home for me, for the August and July, our collections were only at 194. Compared to last year, it was 255. So, and I spoke to the chief about this. I said, why is July and August dipped a little bit compared to last year? And he said, the only thing I can tell you is we are doing less runs. More and more people, he said, it seems, and I agree with him, this town turns into a ghost town sometimes in the summer. So I'm just concerned that we're relying too much on that account.
Do we charge more because we have to drive to now Needham or?
The select board just increased their rates under Chief Bailey back, I think it was February. So those new rates have been in effect. I'm growing a little bit concerned that we're pushing it too much on that. I mean, the 1,140,000, almost 1.1 million is the most we've ever contributed from the ambulance. And it's to help the budget, you know, costs go up of everything, but it's just one small piece of the pie, but.
So it's more of a, it's not really a capital fund, it's more of a kind of a hybrid, we'll say, I guess, that.
I think that's a
does-
good way to put it, yeah, because
Well-
it funds both. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Go ahead, Tamara.
Okay. Jumping down to Highway Department with the roadside message boards. Is this similar to the ones that the police department use? And what would be our head count on message boards after? if we purchase
Yes,
this one?
yes, and 3.
Yes. and
This will
three.
make 3. We have 2 now, this will be a third.
Okay, now, the two that we have now, are they dedicated to specific departments, or are they interchangeable?
No, they,
shared.
yeah,
They share, okay. And this will also become a shared as needed?
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Joseph?
Under the fire department, again, portable radios, how many are we speaking of? And is it just the radio? Is there equipment for the belt that's also included in this? It's very
it's a-
vague.
It's actually going to be for 3 mobile units, 1 each for the 2 new fire engines and 1 for the new command car. And then also, it's going to include 4 portable radios with harnesses, and that's going to be for the new second deputy chief and some of the new hires. I hope I got that right, Chief, right?
That's correct. 3 mobile units and 4 portable radios with equipment. When we got the quote, it was quite some time ago, we included a 10% increase per what the sales rep recommended. And as you mentioned, straps and harness to secure those to our bodies.
Thank you.
So,
What's that, Audrey?
What is the year of the motorcycle being replaced?
That's a 19, excuse me 1 second, that's, the chief will ha- you have it right there, right?
It's in 2019.
I was going to say, it started with 19, that's an old
Pretty old.
motorcycle.
2019.
It's not in this,
What's
Yeah.
the mileage on that?
What was the mileage on that?
It's just over 22,000 miles on it now.
Okay.
Okay, and my follow-up question on that, is this being used as a turn-in towards the new motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
That was nice. We talked about it, the capital budget, where it's got a decent value, I think, a trade-in value, I think was discussed, and has, it's, 4 or 5 years old, and the idea was that would have the most value now as a trade-in toward a new, safer motorcycle.
Perfect. Any other questions on Article 7?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I make the motion to the 70 ambulance fund versus free cash?
You can. So just to make sure we're clear, the $70,000, you want to, so the total would still be
No change in the total, just. the
1,588,000, 1,588,000. But with the funding sources, and I don't have the broken down, we'd lower free cash by 70 and up.
Improve free cash by 70, and
Yeah.
lower the ambulance fund by
Yeah,
70.
Jim, does that,
I
from a
feel-
motion standpoint, you understand what we're
I
intending?
understand. But I made the recommendation the way I did because I'm concerned about the account, but
Okay.
ball's in your court.
No, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Doug will second, so I'm just going to make a note here. All right. Doug. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Is this motion just to change the funding source for the whole thing?
Just to change the
Just
fund,
change.
well, it would be for the whole thing with this new funding source.
The net number would still remain the same, 1
Yeah,
million five.
nothing would change, it's just the funding source structure. And this would be the motion going forward if it's approved. Is that clear?
Yeah,
Excellent. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Doug and Larry,
All right. So,
2.
those opposed? So that is 11, right? Anyone abstain? 0. All right, so that motion does not pass.
Stays as is.
Do we have another motion? Kathleen?
I'd like to make a motion to accept Article 7 for the amount of, I have to magnify this, it's so small, but
$1,588,000.
0.588
Yes.
thousand with the funding sources as posted on this handout.
Yeah,
Is that good
perfect.
enough?
Yep.
Second.
Second, Scott.
Those in favor, say, raise your hand. Those opposed? 1, 2. So it's 11-2-0. Oh, yeah.
10-0.
10.
Right, it's only 12 of us.
Yeah, sorry.
10-0.
I'm off in my head. That's the reason why you never let me do the math. Go from there. Aye, so on to Article 8.
Okay, Article 8, favorable action was voted 6-0-0 in the amount of $2,008,049, and that would be $1,215,000 from free cash, $6,233 from rideshare reimbursements, and $786,816 from Chapter 90.
Excellent. Do we have any, Josette?
Could you clarify what rideshare reimbursement is?
Rideshare is the town's share of the money, the taxes on the Uber and Lyft. And,
I was,
yeah, it was new to,
I
it was
wasn't
new to
aware
us.
of
too.
what it was.
And what's that going to fund, it's blank on,
Oh, it's just part of the amount for the resurfacing of the road, so.
Oh, that's just
the
additive
total
to that,
amount is
okay.
1.1 million plus the 6,000.
Okay.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
Is this the first time we've seen that?
It's the first time I have.
First time for me.
I didn't know if it was so small last time. I couldn't-
Yeah. No, it's a complete newie.
Any other questions? Mark?
Were funds here used to do the renovations on Common Street in front of the church?
I don't think so.
So I guess I'm just curious, I see the new renovations made in front of the church, the flashing light, four parking spots are now gone. So I'm just wondering, were these kind of funds that come out of here used to make
No, that was
those?
a Complete Streets program.
What's that?
Complete Streets program was a grant from the Commonwealth.
Okay.
That, bike racks, a couple of other traffic signals, crossing signals, was all under the Complete Streets. We actually got involved in the program like 3 or 4 years ago, and that was the final phase of it.
I'm just curious why they did that, and
It's all about pedestrian safety to shorten up the crossing.
okay, thank you.
Josette?
I don't know if it goes to Ed or to Patrick, where Jim isn't here. The rideshare reimbursement, it appears to most of us, this is the first time we've heard of it. Okay, so the funds coming in from that was $6,233. Is this reimbursement always going to be dedicated to this particular account, or does it have the flexibility to be used elsewhere?
So it's subject to town meeting appropriation, but I don't know if
It
there's any
needs to be
stipulations.
relative to streets and roads and that sort of thing, so it
Okay.
can't be for anything.
So it's a definite dedication to that particular area of the budget.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion on Article 8?
I move for favorable action on Article 8, as noted in our handout, with sources coming from free cash, rideshare, and Chapter 90.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So now we're 12-0-0. Perfect. Article 9.
Article 9, capital budget, voted favorable action 6-0-0 for $1,245,000, and all of that is out of water retained earnings.
Questions? Larry?
Current balance of water retained earnings,
Excuse me?
approximately? Current balance of the water retained earnings,
Patrick, or do you?
Balance,
approximate.
it was just certified at 2.5, I think it was? Well, no, 3 yes, thank you. 2.5 was sewer, right?
$3,103,161.
About 3.1.
Thank you. So after this, it would be 1.9 or something like that? Approximate. Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I just love the phrase leak deception.
Detection, it's not deception.
It says deception.
Deception.
Okay, good. Well, that's a good question. Can I clarify that?
Mark?
It's not, my question isn't specific to the budget, but the water department had been thinking about looking about tying into the Quabbin Reservoir, or the ability
So
to
let's
do
keep that, we'll save that for the, it's not a
Okay.
capital budget item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yep. Charges up.
Sorry. Water Department, the Phase 3 upgrade, SCADA. How many more phases
One more.
are there of that?
One
or is
more.
this it?
This is the third of 4, and actually, it's the most expensive phase of it. And I think, Rick, if I'm not mistaken, that the next one should be fairly cheap, and this might almost cover the fourth phase also.
Based on what we propose to do under this phase, we're expecting Phase 4 to be much smaller.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Motion for favorable action on Article 9 in the amount of $1,245,000 from water retained earnings.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 12-0-0. Article 10.
Article 10, capital budget voted favorable action 600 in the amount of $654,000, and that is from sewer retained earnings.
Questions? Larry?
I feel like you asked this. $2,092,012.
Thank you.
Say that number again?
$2,092,012.
Thank you.
2.1 million then, roughly.
And if this article passes, it'll be $1,006,000.
There you go. Thanks, Mark.
It's in our notes from the first meeting.
Any other questions? Andre?
What is the year of the Ford F-550 that's being replaced?
Excuse me?
The year of the Ford F-550 replacement?
Oh, that was a 19, actually, that is a, I don't know, truck 409. It's a, I know it's got 142,000 miles on it, and it was
2006.
2006.
Thank you, that's helpful. And 140,000 miles?
142.
142.
Any other questions?
The High Oaks sewer station rehabilitation, what is that actually involving?
What is it, what?
What is it actually involving?
It's a rehabilitation with a new pump. My understanding is the pump that's in there now is a lift-type pump, so the motor is on top of the surface above the water level, and the new pumps that they've been using in the rehabilitation have been a submerged pump, which is more like a grinder pump. And actually, the controls, I think, are starting to fail up there also, so it's in need of a full rehab.
What is
Such
the-
as we have done at Eldor Drive, Morningside.
What is the guarantee time element on these?
Probably a year, I don't know.
Yeah, the equipment is typically only warranted for a year.
Any other?
It's a $400,000 for 1 year. Wow.
Well,
that's-
this current equipment is nearing 20 years old, so.
Yeah.
I watched part of this, but I didn't get to the complete answer of it, sorry.
So it's not 400,000 for 1 year, it's
No,
hopefully
it's-
400,000 for 20 years.
Years.
They'll
Just
only warranty the first.
warranty the
But the
first year.
warranty is what I
We
was
hope
concerned
20
with.
years, right?
Yeah,
How often do you have an issue with any of these?
it's not jinxing it.
In terms of serious breakdowns, hardly ever. It's very
Okay,
rare.
So it's a very stable product.
Let's all knock wood after we say that.
Yes, really. Thank you.
They're also monitored twice daily, right?
Yes.
So they're physically monitored twice daily,
You're
so.
very much aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those are good questions.
Thank
Somebody
you.
should have a maintenance contract we could buy on those.
And we do, John.
So then why doesn't that cover the 400,000?
No questions.
I'm good. Anyone from anyone, any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I move for favorable action on Article 10 in the amount of $654,000 from sewer retained earnings.
Second?
Doug? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 12-0-0. Excellent.
Did you want to go over the total funding at the end, or you good with that? or-
Now, because we've,
We have to make adjustments.
yeah,
10,000?
well, we got the 10,
Yeah.
yeah, but everything is taken in the motion,
Just
so
the
as we did it all.
$10,000, so
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
so that would remain in free cash, right?
Yeah, but I think what Doug wants to do is put it towards the capital stabilization, which
Yeah.
I'll adjust.
Separate
But we already voted the motion, less the funding, so technically it would stay there
free
until
cash for now.
we did something else from there. Jim, and that's the agenda for tonight, correct?
Yes.
We're back here Thursday. Thursday's our last meeting.
Danny, can I ask Jim one question? Separate from the articles?
Thank you.
Jim?
Yes.
Wait, let's just, I just
Okay,
want to get through
sorry.
a couple of things, just, let's get through this piece first. So, so we've got, so we did 5, 6, 7, 8. What do we do today? We
to
did
10.
6
6 through 10.
through 10.
Yeah.
So we've just got, in 16, Jim, any up?
No, I actually typed up a memo. It's off, obviously, by $10,000 now, but just, I wanted to make sure on the motions, everyone understood them, so I went ahead and just drafted motions for Thursday night.
Okay.
So Steve's passing that down. It's just a one page. So just to get, I had, because we gotta reference the account numbers in it, I wanna make sure everybody understands what we're looking to do, especially in Article 2. 3, 4, 5 is pretty straightforward.
Well, 3, so it's actually 2,
2, 4, and 5.
2, 4, and 5.
Right, we voted OPEB already.
They're the same.
They're the
Okay,
same, okay.
okay. There you go.
Confusing.
Yeah. That's- So, yeah.
That's a picture of the bridge he was talking about. He's passing it around.
It's not where I was thinking it was gonna be, but that's fine.
So just, that's all we're passing around today, just want everybody to have a look.
Just one page?
Just one page, yeah.
Not used to getting only just one page. All right, so,
And then the only other items we have outstanding is the 2 zoning articles, and what we did is, I went ahead, and usually, we have to have a public hearing before town meeting.
Yep.
I posted the public hearing, we advertised the public hearing for 7:30, so you can meet at 7 to vote on those 2 items.
and then the DPW contract, no updates?
There is no contract, so that one will be withdrawn, I'll reflect that.
That'll change all the numbers again?
Yeah, but I put it towards the end, so it'll only be the last 3 that are
All right.
impacted.
So we'll be back for 2, 4, and 5 on
Yep.
Thursday. Excellent.
Then I'll update the voting chart, so you'll have that.
Someone must have passed this
Okay,
around.
great.
Did anyone lose their sheet with notes? They passed it around by mistake.
You, Doug? Blue ink?
Blue ink.
Blue ink, that's
No,
mine,
this is-
actually. Good thing I didn't write anything down.
Mark, you had a question?
A picture of Brulick.
Jim, so I have a question, and I mentioned this last meeting, but I'm wondering, and I'm not asking you to comment about what's going on in Brockton, but basically, they're able to cut checks, make contracts above and beyond the authorized budget. So I'm just wondering, does Walpole have a check and balance where that can't happen?
Yes. With the warrant every week that we do, the accounts payable warrant, there's a section that gets reviewed, and it shows if something is over or under budget.
Okay, great. I just wanted to have it minuted in the
I
meeting.
don't know how that happened, especially the fact that it's the previous fiscal year. Like, someone, my mother mentioned it to me, and I started reading about it, and I'm like, how does all this happen? You know, I just,
And they're reviewing more, and they find out this year's budget is already gonna be 18 million in the hole, the one they just started. Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
yeah, I mean, Mike's left the room, but, you know, he checks everything. He's pretty, him and Bridget, they run a tight ship, and then it has to get through Bridget and Anne Marie, so, through Jody and Anne Marie down in our office, so I don't know how something like that would happen there.
Right, so that, in other words, there's a process that's set up that can't happen. Doesn't matter who the person is, the process itself requires the checks and balances. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Most definitely.
Excellent. If there is nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Second? We'll thank Ed, all. That was very nice. I should have done that. Thank you. All in favor? Name opposed, abstain? We're done.
Nobody's sleeping here tonight.